And we are live now. So let's get this puppy started. Welcome to another session of being the top 10% NAHREP 10 coaching. This month, we have the honor of having an incredible rock star. I've known this lady and followed Miss Terry for a long time, Terry Santiago Parker. She is a killer, has a large team, top producer, still does all the activities to this day, all the right things loan officers should be doing that they're not doing. Just in our prep call, when we were talking about doing this call, I learned so many tips from her on things that I need to do to elevate my mortgage game. So, Terry, thank you so much for being here today and taking some time out of your schedule to share some tips with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful for everybody making the time and for being asked. I think NAHREP is a great organization, and I love just the awareness that it brings to our Hispanic community and all that goes with it. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
And Bernie, do you want to add anything?
No, I'm just super excited to hear some of these tips. And guys, we promise Terry's also, we're going to get some stories, but she'll keep it a little tactical too. Some of the things that she just does, common sense. It's like, wow, how come we're not all doing that, right? At our levels, and we're not even at her level, right? That's why
Yeah.
she's the big dog. So no, I'm excited.
Very
So
sweet. Thank you.
So, in kicking this off, you've built an incredible mortgage business and now manage multiple branches. What was one of the key turning points that helped you scale from an individual producer to a branch leader?
Well, I think leadership for me anyway came through failure, or failures. Transitioning from a mortgage company to another is not an easy thing to do. Mortgage companies can make it out to be super easy, but it is a pain point for us, anybody, whether you be a real estate agent or a mortgage person. And so I came to cross country 9 years ago in August, and I was a really good loan officer. Like I could get a lot of loans done, and I was a good loan technician, let's just say. But I did not have the leadership skills. No one really taught me how to be a leader. And so I did all the horrible things that every boss does. And, when we learn, right? And, coaching moments in front of other people and all the things that now I would literally cringe if I, see somebody do. But, I learned that through mistakes and reflection and having good leaders that luckily, would give me the tools and give me the advice and stuff like that. So I was very big on like listening to advice and following what other people were doing that were successful.
And that's
No, I
huge.
love that. Huge, huge. So Terry, why don't we step back? Some of the audience members may not know exactly who you are. Okay, so Rick and I obviously do. Could you just give us kind of how long you've been doing this, right? So they understand it doesn't happen overnight. But B, what have you built? So where are you now in your business? I think that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one, I don't want to age myself here with the big 50 creeping around the corner, but I started doing loans in 1997, working for a man by the name of Emmanuel Weinstein. Back then, it was a consumer credit discount company, so they focused on like windows and doors and high interest rate mortgages and all that kind of stuff. And they had a small mortgage department, and so he took a liking to my work ethic, me being a Latina and all that stuff. And he saw something in that. So kudos to him. And he taught me, the business. And he was the one that opened the doors for me, to be honest, because at that time I didn't have a college education, which was required back then. I didn't have a book of business. Like I just didn't have those things. And so he made the connections for me and helped me tremendously. And then at that point, I went to Delta Funding and Wholesale, which is where I met Lindsay back in 2003. I think I started there. And basically, let me just start this video here a second again.
Sorry
Sorry, I'll
about
leave.
that, Terry. I accidentally closed your video. I was trying to close somebody else's and accidentally hit
That's
yours. Sorry
okay.
about that.
No worries. Um, I'll wait for that to start. But
There you go.
basically, to make a long story short, I I started wholesale and I started underwriting, working with the account managers, wanting to know the back end of a loan. And again, I got really lucky and blessed because I ended up working with a phenomenal mentor there as well, named Carla Biancanello. And a lot of people know her. If you've been around for a long time, You definitely know her. And I would, get in the car and drive to New York from, Philadelphia 3, 4 times a week to Long Island, New York, which for those of you that don't know that drive, that's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive each way to work an 8 hour day. So Lindsay,
Yeah.
who's on this, would vouch and say that I did that on a regular basis for many years until sadly the company went out of business in 2008, which is then I said to my husband, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I had this like big wig job and, I just, landed with the mortgage company, catastrophe essentially, and watching all my friends, get laid off and all that. And so, really difficult time. But my husband said, listen, you sell loans, you know how to do loans backwards. And, ultimately it was his idea. He was like, get back into retail, start doing loans. So fun fact, my company went out of business. I found out I was pregnant with our third son, and our house was under a full gut and remodel all in the same week. And we were in Disney World. And Lindsay will remember this because on our ride to Disney, unfortunately, I had to lay off all of my friends that work for me in my state. And it was just a horrible time other than having my third son. But fast forward, I started in retail in 2008, opened up my own branch, and everyone that, had copy machines and phone systems and stuff, they were saying, even though you have good credit and you have all the money, we're not leasing anything to you because mortgage companies were closing down when I was opening up. So talk about overcoming adversity, right? Because, they were saying like, hey, we don't want to lease to a mortgage company because everyone's going out of business. And we were like, no, we're fine. We're fine. And it was just me and this other girl. And that was it. And that's where we started. And we literally started out of my basement, calling clients out of the white pages, primarily Hispanic clients, asking them if they were homeowners and if they wanted to borrow money. That's literally what it was like. Mrs. Rodriguez, do you own your house? Do you need to borrow money? Do you want to make any home improvements? Because that's what I knew. And I started from there. And so now, we've had our branch 2008. We have multiple branches. We have tons and tons of loan officers that work for us, gratefully. We have an awesome team. We're top 1% in the country. We're top 10 at cross country. Cross country is also the #1 retail lender in the US. So being top 10 within that is amazing.
That's
And
incredible.
we also started an investment portfolio. So we're buying and renting and all of that. And then we also have a coaching company that we started 3 years ago, which many of you guys are my coaching students. And very, very blessed individual. But clearly all that stems from loving what I do.
No,
Long
I love it.
story, really short.
But Terry, to be clear, you still produce individually. How many families did you help last year? Just give some perspective.
Yeah, we help on my personal team about 360 families a year. I still produce actively. I'm still a loan officer. Literally last night, I was here till 8 o'clock at night selling streamline refinances. True story. Because I keep my word to my clients. And if I tell them that, if they make their payments on time and there's a rate reduction opportunity, then I'm going to give it to them. And so, yeah, like I'm still in it, like taking applications, taking dates of birth, on a napkin in the car, driving down the street.
Yep, I love it. I just wanted to make sure people understood that because some things change and some things don't, right? And I think my favorite thing there that you said is early on. I posted on this yesterday. If you want to grow in sales, find a mentor and go work for a mentor, right? And I would tell people on this call, or anybody that's going to listen to the recording, if you're looking to get into mortgage in Terry's neck of the woods, call Terry and go work for her and let her mentor you for a while, right? But it makes a difference, Terry. I love that's a big part of your story. That's super cool.
Thank you. I think the biggest thing is like people tell me all the time, like, why are you still in production when, you've recruited and you have loan officers and like, why are you still in production? You don't really need to be
Mhm.
anymore. And I feel like every time I attempt to move myself out of production, I end up in a really unhappy place. My happiest place, other than coaching people based on my experiences, is honestly doing loans. And I don't mean that like a cheesy way. I mean that sincerely. There is not a better feeling that I have other than like my personal family stuff when I go to a closing and we're taking the pictures and people are buying a house and like that's just a feeling it's just indescribable to me. I mean that like sincerely. So I don't really find myself really happy when I stop doing those activities, honestly. So
Yeah, I love it. Leading by
That's
example, it,
wonderful.
it works.
And that leads perfectly into the next question. So, this current mortgage market has been very, very tough for many loan officers. What specific strategies have helped you maintain high production in this environment?
So staying really structured. Right now I'm running a book club on a book called Traction. I don't know if you guys have read that book.
Great book. Yeah.
I read it twice now, and one of the like tactics or techniques that I've done is just today, I just came from another business where we had multiple business owners go to this particular business. It was actually a remodeling and home improvement company, and we shadowed the owner and his wife on how they run their business, how they run their day to day, their team meeting, how they overcame hurdles. And I basically like implement those things in my own business. But to answer your point is that I try to keep my systems really tight, including prospecting, cold calling, doing videos. I was just talking to some of the girls on here recently, and I'm like, we all hate doing videos because we all hate the sound of our voice and the way that we look, and one piece of hair is over here and one wrinkle's over there, and all those things and everything. But at the end of the day, that's just a part of our business now, and you have to have a content calendar. You have to constantly do the videos. You have to do them when you don't feel like doing them. When you have to, oftentimes we plan what I'm going to say and what videos I'm going to do. I'm not one of those people that is like really big on winging it, other than going with my gut on like those natural decisions you have to make. I'm a firm believer of going with your gut. But when it comes to like working and strategy, I don't wing it. I would say I always have a plan.
And your content is amazing. I always love your videos. You give out really good information on Instagram.
Thank you. I mean, I try to be one of my mentors, Carla Biancanello, right? She used to say three things. She used to say, you will be successful if you pay attention to detail, if you focus on the things you can control, and if you have balance, right? Which we all struggle with balance, obviously. And yesterday we had an event here, and a South Jersey RIA was here, and they were doing their investor, networking event, which they do here monthly. And by the way, if anyone does not attend RIA meetings on a regular basis, you need to find one in your local area and you need to go, because this is a room full of investors. And not only have I gotten a ton of loans from it, I've met a ton of amazing people. And so I feel like South Jersey RIA, even after 27 years of doing mortgages, I found this like secret sauce in a secret room, and it's been like amazing. But just yesterday, one of the young ladies that was speaking said, she constantly is buying investment properties. She's constantly buying rental properties. And she's like, but she found that the more properties that she purchased, she still didn't feel happy. Like she still wasn't like, it wasn't fulfilling like this need. It was almost like a thing that she had to constantly do. And what I got from that is like, yeah, I think we all have to focus in our jobs and our companies and stay in the role of what you love to do. When you get away from that, so I guess my point is to go full circle is that all of that stemmed from before, and from all the mentors, that message hasn't changed.
That's wonderful.
No, super cool. So we've changed Terry to this era, and I think loan officers are hearing all the time, digital and use Blend or Flowify, and I think we all use that, and you probably use a version of it too. I get it, right? But one thing that really struck me when we met to prep for our call is that how many clients you still meet face to face as part of your process. Can you just comment on why you still believe in that and how that's affected your business, your conversion? I think that's cool.
One, I think people appreciate that. Like, let's not be corny here, but at the end of the day, buying a house is scary. Now, I have excellent credit, right? Like, thankfully. But I don't know about you guys. Even when I get my own credit run, I'm always like nervous. Like, there's this
Right.
little air in your stomach where you're like, what's my credit score? And did anything come up that I don't know about? And, it's kind of scary a little bit. Actually, it's kind of scary for some people a lot, especially when their credit is not good. And people tend to be like embarrassed. And it's very personal, it's very intrusive. And I have found that by telling clients, like, hey, I want to meet with you, I want to sit with you face to face, especially my bilingual, my Latino clients. I want to peel your tax returns back. I want to look at your bank statements. I want to coach you on what to do. I have this firm belief that, like, in some weird way, my mission is to show people that it is possible to buy a house, especially the immigrants that My parents owned a pizzeria when I was a kid. That's what I grew up in, is my parents owning a pizzeria. There was always like dishwashers and, bus boys and cooks and like Costa Rica and, all these countries. And they always used to be like, hey, I want to send money back to my family. I want to send back money to buy land and build a house there. And it always resonated with me like my whole childhood as to, well, why are you not buying a house here? Like, why are you
Right.
sending money back there to build a house there? Why are you not buying a house here? Just where you're spending the next 30 years of working your butt off. And what I found, the message was the same, was that, oh, I didn't even know I could do that. I didn't even know I could do that. And so I think meeting with clients face to face is not only saying, it's possible to buy a house now, but it's also possible to buy another one. And it's possible to buy another one and another one. And so this Saturday is a perfect example. I partner with one of my Latina realtors, Lena Balanta, and we're doing a investor seminar in the heart of the Hispanic community, particularly to teach them you can do fix and flip, you can do DSCR, you can buy multiple properties, you can buy a second home with only 5% down. People have this misconception because they talk to each other that you can do, you have to put 20% down, and it's like you don't have to do that. You can do a DSCR with 15% down. You can do, second home. I just saw Rick's eyes go, is that right? You can do a second home with 5% down, which you can. But, people don't know that. And so, yeah, I feel like meeting people face to face is not only one to show them that I care and that I know it's an intrusive process, but also to educate them on, hopefully later in life, they'll go back and be like, hey, I met this girl 20 years ago and she helped me like somebody did for
Right.
me 20 years ago. And that's really what I want to do.
Well,
Yeah,
and
but
I
I would
like
say,
how, go ahead, bro.
oh, sorry, Rick. Terry, you also just gave us a master class on what your value is to your realtors, right? You inspire possible home buyers and help them believe that yes, they should buy. Maybe they should buy more than one property. And if I was a realtor and you were a loan officer, trying to get my business, oh my goodness, I see that example a couple times and I'm like, that's my girl, right? I think that's super cool. Okay, Rick, sorry,
Yeah.
man. Go ahead.
No, no, I was going to say meeting people face to face. I think being able to read that body language is so important, right? Because like, and probably for you, it's not as some of these newer loan officers that don't know if what they're saying is hitting, but being able to see their face as you make those comments is very critical.
We convert. I'm going to give you a fun fact. Ready? We use a lead tracker. We measure every lead. We measure every conversion. When we meet with clients face to face, our conversion is over 90%.
Yep.
Over 90% when we meet a client face to face, right? Wilda knows, Brittany knows, Missy knows, right? When we meet with a customer over the phone, our conversion ratio drops to 28%.
Yep.
Wow.
So if that's the case, the name of the game is make face-to-face appointments. That's the name of the game, And something else to just say, right? Like I had my first child at 17. I've been with my husband since I was 15 years old. Um, we had a lot of adversity. I didn't go to college. I was on welfare, like all these things, right? Like I had to work really hard to climb every ladder, to every mountain, to every step, right? I had to work, 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 work. And I wish that somebody would have told me 20 years ago that I can own multiple properties to have financial freedom, because now when I fill out my budget sheet on a monthly basis within TMI, right, which is one of the activities that we do, and I look at it and go, oh my gosh, look at all this equity I built up that I can live off of when I retire, or that I can leave to my children or my grandchildren so they don't have to work as hard as I did. I wish that someone sat with me face to face and showed me that. And that drives me bananas because I only learned that like in the last, I would say 10 years, which is shame on me because I've been doing mortgages this whole time. And even I would say a vacation home, never. I wish, oh my God, investment properties. I don't know how I'm ever gonna have 20% down. And I was a girl that was closing 15, 20 loans a month. Like Lindsay will tell you, and Awilda, like I've been successful for a long time. And even myself didn't look at it like it was possible to own all these properties. So now I feel like it's my mission to be like, guys, I did it. This is how I did it. This is what a call segregation is. Do you have a financial engineer? Do you even know what a financial engineer is? Like, I didn't even know what a financial engineer was until a couple years ago. It's literally like blows my mind on how uneducated we are, even loan officers.
Yep.
Really.
Oh
No,
yeah.
and to that point, that's one of the things I have in my process is educating every buyer the power of owning multiple properties. I mean, I have multiple properties, and I don't know, I just stumbled into it, and now I know the value of them. So that's huge.
Really crazy.
No.
And it's scary because, we still make the same mistakes over fear. When COVID was going on and rates were, 2.5%, we bought like 3 properties in that time. And now that those rates are gone, what do you think the conversations my husband and I have? We go, geez, we should have bought like 10. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? We bought three. And we bought three because we were scared, right?
Yep.
And now we're buying properties every 6 months and we're paying, 7.5%. And it's like, oh, why didn't we do it then? And it all comes down to that fear. And so I'm hoping that when I meet clients face to face, I can kind of calm them down and be like, don't be scared. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like, what is literally the worst thing that's going to happen? Like, the good outweighs the bad so much that you should be doing it. And yes, Missy, I know you're hiding behind your camera, but I'm talking to you, just so you know. You need to buy
I
another
love it.
property.
Love it. Buy a duplex. I just bought my first duplex like 6, 7 months ago, at
Really?
8%. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not bad though. It's pretty.
No,
She's
it's cash
laughing.
flowing. It's cash flowing, so that's huge. Well, look, advice for loan officers. Let's just say that you're coaching a loan officer today that's doing 0 loans and wants to get to 3. What advice would you give them?
And create a perfect work week. Come up with what your week looks like. Pre-plan yourself ahead. Something I learned from Shayla Gifford when I was at a summit once was she had said she books out her calendar 2 months ahead of time. And I was like, oh my gosh, this lady must look so busy. When a realtor calls and says, I want to have lunch with you, and you're like, I'll see you in 2.5 months. I didn't really get the concept of pre-blocking. And then afterwards, I was like, oh, now I get what she's saying is that, she was pre-prospecting essentially, like in advance. And so it really made a lot of sense. So I would say pre-blocking your calendar, having a perfect work week, having time blocks for those perfect work week activities. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. Sometimes on Mondays, we're all supposed to go, realtors on Mondays when you're a loan officer is what we're supposed to do. And most don't do it because they hate cold calling or they don't
Don't mind
prepare
me.
and they don't know who they're going to call, right? So same thing. I write down who I'm going to call on Friday. So I already know who I'm calling on Monday. Usually I'm calling agents that I haven't funded a deal with in 90 days, right? And just, saying, hey, did you forget about me and all those things and everything. But what I started doing is blocking my perfect work week activities in 30-minute blocks instead of an hour. So I'll do 10 to 10:30, and then I'll do the same activity again at from 2 to 2:30. And then what happens is I'm not getting behind on my text messages. I'm not getting the anxiety of how many emails that I get. So doing it in 30 minutes, I can have, blocks of time, but I'm also keeping my sales tactics sharp because I'm going to get back on the phone and do sales again in a couple of hours. It's not like I'm doing all this energy in sales and then like I'm having an energy fall off. So it kind of gives me that balance of energy. So, and I'm not getting behind and I'm not having the anxiety like my son would have when he doesn't return a text in 32 milliseconds, right? So time blocking in 30-minute increments, perfect work week, pre-blocking your calendar and having metrics for yourself, right? So I'll say to a new loan officer, set 2 lunches a week, right? If you can't afford it, set 2 coffees a week. If you don't want to do coffees, set 2 appointments a week for the realtor to come in and see our beautiful office and meet with you, go over products, go over your value, listen. And then we'll break down, what does that appointment look like? What should you do when you get there? Same thing like cold calling. Like a common question I get all the time is, oh my God, I got a cold call. I don't know where to start. I'm coaching this guy who wants to farm a new area, right? Like he wants to farm a new state. And so I was like, okay, have your marketing assistant or one of your support staffs build out what that state focuses on, right? Like for me, South Carolina, I mentioned to you guys, I wanted to integrate South Carolina closings into my perfect work week, right? So what I did is I had my BDA pull every new construction development in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, who the rep was that sat in that office, what the properties looked like. And then I started calling and saying, like, tell me about your project, tell me about your in-house lender. Let me be the fallout lender for NVR or DHI and as I mentioned, we're doing almost $2 million a month in fundings right now from a state that I don't even live in or go to that often anymore. And so it's just a matter of like preparation, having a plan, and then actually doing it without blocking out huge periods of time where you don't get backed up.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you got to do it. That's the part I can't teach you.
Yeah. And Terry, I agree. Two of the things there, like if you put a 2 hour time block to cold call, like after 45 minutes, even a maniac like me, I'm like, okay, I'm tired or getting distracted, or I'll figure out something else to do. So I love the 30-minute blocks. And, yes, the execution, it's like, even if you don't have a coach, if I can't afford a coach like you, who is awesome, okay, grab the person right next to you in the office and be like, okay, you call six, I'll call six. Let's get back together an hour and make sure we did it, or I'm gonna, punch you in the arm. I don't know, right? But there's got to be accountability because too many people just don't do it, right? So Terry, I want to switch gears, just staying with loan officers and loan officer challenges, right? Because right now, I have a lot of loan officers that I coach as well, and a lot of the little guys are newer LOs. Um, Rates is a big deal. So there's so much noise out there now with we got the Quicken and the Redfin, and now we have all these brokers that we compete with. And I know you don't have the best rates, and I don't have the best rates, right? So how do you coach your younger loan officers through kind of that rate scenario to make sure their value is known so they can win business?
One is education. It goes back to that same in-person meeting or, offer a Zoom or whatever the case may be. But, a normal consult, being honest, could take me 30 minutes. A consult
Yep.
now is going to take me an hour because I'm going to show them, okay, we're going to go over closing costs, payment, budget. We're going to go over long-term buy down. We're going to go over short-term buy down. We're going to go over our refi option. Like we're going to go over, I'll give you for example. The consult looks like, okay, Mr. Rodriguez, you want to put 20% down because you saved all this money to put 20% down. However, you could put 10% down and then pay off your car loan. And now, your monthly budget, you're gonna be able to buy more of a house because now you're not gonna have that $700 car payment. And so I look at every single loan as like its own individual like loan, essentially family budget, right? And I try to analyze what's important to them and where they're trying to get to. When you're dealing with a conventional bank type client, it's going to be difficult to get around rate, right? You're going to do the best you can. You're going to have to go skinny or talk to your branch manager, as my loan officers do, to get exceptions on pricing. And, there's been times I've even gone to my lock desk and said, like, yo, I went down as far as I could go. I don't want to lose this deal because of this realtor. Can you give me an exception on the rate? And all of our banks will do that, obviously, help us with the rate. So you're going to have that. There's no way around that. But I think on an average, when it comes to rate, it comes to educating your buyer on the options and giving them the choice. Like, listen, I don't make the rates, right? I'm not the government. This is where we're starting from. But here's the tools that I could give you to educate you on making the right decision on what rate you feel comfortable with to get to the payment you want to get to for the house that you need or want.
Right. But what I really hear you saying is you've got to put clients in your sales process, add a ton of value up front, and then maybe you don't get shopped. Like I always say, by the time you get rate shopped, like it's too late. You never added enough value with everything you just said. I love
Tell
that.
you what, if you take it full circle and you see that if you're going to meet with somebody face to face, you're going to convert at 90%, maybe you're going to convert at 70%, right? Because maybe you don't speak Spanish and maybe it wasn't a great realtor like a Wilda that said,
Right.
use Terry and only Terry, and then that customer's already coming to you with the mindset that you're the best or whatever. Then, meet with them face to face. You get a better chance. Rate's not going to matter when they trust you.
100%.
I
Yep.
love that. That we got to put that into a YouTube short. Rate doesn't matter when they trust you.
That's it.
That's freaking fantastic
Thank you
advice.
guys.
All right. So many loan officers hesitate to do cold calling, realtors, or even past clients. What's your approach to prospecting, and how do you keep your realtor partners engaged?
So one, prospecting is very beneficial when you go to events. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not super big on going to events because I work so much as it is. And I've been moving some contractors that came into the building. that are friends, of course, friends with everybody. Um, I'm like, they're not contractors, they're friends. Let's be serious. Um, but long and short is I don't really like going to events that much because it's more time away from my family and it's more time away from the things that I want to be doing on my time off, right? However, I cannot tell you the last time I went to an event and I didn't have a huge benefit on either A, recruiting a loan officer or finding a new coaching student. Almost always do I end up with a value from going to an event. So I would definitely have going to events or hosting events. I host one event every single month. At a minimum, I hold two a quarter, and that does not count open houses or thing or broker opens. I'm talking about legit events. This week alone, or this month alone, rather, in March, we have three events. We have the investor event. We have a new construction builder tour, which I can tell you about new construction as well, but that's another sidebar to interest rates is dealing with builders, right? Um, and we had this South Jersey RIA event yesterday. So, I'm putting myself in a place where I'm going to see 100 realtors in a 30-day period. And so it makes it a little bit easier to cold call somebody you don't know if they've seen you passing. Someone's like, "Oh, that's Terry Parker over there." And then now I'm cold calling them a week later. They're like, "Oh, I think I saw her," and somebody said her name or whatever.
No, it's interesting you said that. So let's talk about events because many of my realtor partners are, top producers, and they're like, I don't go to events. It's a waste of my time. Um, but you're saying that you definitely go to events, so you just have a different perspective. And what I like to like, you get coaching students. What if you weren't in the coaching program? Would you still go to events, and do you still feel there'd be value there for you?
Because I'll give you an example. Like if I looked at my last three events, right, just to put it in perspective, the last event I went to, I got business from a realtor that I had been trying to get business from for like 3 or 4 years. And
Mhm.
surprisingly, she was becoming the president. She was the incoming president for NAHREP, right? And I went to support her. I didn't go to get business. I went to support her. Well, guess what? She was so happy that I went to support her that she then ended up starting giving me business. And that wasn't my intention of going. I mean that sincerely. I went to support a woman incoming now president in my community, right? And so that's why we went, really. And I was like, it's on my way home. I'll stop by, give her a big hug, high five, all that. And she ended up throwing us business. So, that's an example there. The event before that I went to, I was hanging out with one of my loan officers. My loan officer was like, "Hey, you got to meet this girl. She's awesome." She ended up sending me her resume, and she's on this Zoom right now. We ended up hiring her. Had I not gone to that event, me and that loan officer would have not talked about that particular employee, and she would not be here right now, which right now is one of my business development associates that, just started a week ago, who's fantastic, by the way. And so I feel like every event, whether I'm either super lucky or everyone else is missing out, I have had a value at almost every single event. But you got to remember too, I'm going into an event with a purpose. I'm not going into an event. First of all, I don't drink, not by any reason. I'm drinking problems or anything. I'm a very small person, and I don't like drinking. Okay, unless
I'm the same way. I don't
somewhere
drink at
public.
events. I want to be professional.
Yeah, I don't drink. I don't like to drink. I just don't like to drink. And so I'm not going there for that. I'm going there with a purpose. I'm going there to, give Sally a shout out, or I'm going there to, recruit, or I'm going there like I have a purpose. I'm going there to meet friends. And so I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna enjoy myself. I'm gonna make some new friends, and I'm gonna go home. I'll be honest, it is taking time away from my family. It is taking time away
Right.
from me seeing my grandkids. It is a sacrifice. I'm not saying that I'm super excited to go. There's many times, being honest, that I'm like, "Oh, Brittany, I can't go. I don't want to go. I just don't want to do it." And then she'll remind me, like, and then I'll go, and then it always turns out to be awesome. So she's always right.
I love it. I love it. And I'm really glad, Terry, you mentioned, hey, everything that we say yes to, we say no to something else. And sometimes that ends up being family. Now, I work in the business with my wife. We sucked our daughter into the business. And so one of the things that I love about your story is you are in business with your family. So can you talk about, some of the ways you try to keep harmony and balance, but also, working with family and how kind of lifing life and work together has worked for you?
So I'm a very, very, very lucky girl, blessed, because my husband and I have complete opposite personalities. So we don't fight that often because we're very different. Um, he's very like relaxed and introverted. I'm very, aggressive and, outgoing and things like that. Our children are the same. One has my personality, has one has his personality. So my son Joe is all in and super sales and all that. And Nick is more of a processor, very quiet, and so forth. And so we do. So my son and my husband having their personality, which is not very, robust, I would say. They're very dialed in. They're like, it's 6 o'clock. I'm not talking about work. This is
Right.
not work time. And so if you bring up a loan to my son at 7 o'clock at night, he'll give you the same answer that a normal processor would be like, you need to ask me about that on Monday. So he's really good about boundaries. Me and Joe, on the other hand, we talk about work constantly.
Right.
It's because we both love it. And so there is no end. Like, as a matter of fact, I just came back today and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about the shadowing I did with this business this morning. It's going to be great. We're going to put all these systems in place. And he was like, all right, Saturday, we'll go to lunch and talk about it. And it's like, and this is a kid that's got 3 children, babies, like 3 children under 3,
Yeah.
and a wife. And still he's like, yeah, let's go Saturday and talk about it.
Yeah. I love it. I
Love it.
love it.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time, Terry. Does anybody have any in the group that's watching have any questions? Feel free to put in the chat box. I want to make sure we ask any questions that anybody may want to know while we have this incredible individual on the call with us, Miss Terry. Uh-oh, somebody put it in the chat box. Don't ask. Somebody just said something.
Or if you're on your phone, Jeanette, you could ask. It's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say anything. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
did you
okay.
did you have a question?
No. I just I don't have a question. Sorry.
No problem. Well, we had somebody comment. They said no questions, just a comment. Terry is awesome. I don't think you'll hear any rebuttals there. Someone said thank you. So, well, Terry, is there anything you want to leave the group with before we wrap this call up?
I just think that, a lot of times in this day and age, people sometimes are not super proud to be a Latina or Latino. It's a scary time right now for some people more than others. And I just want to remain really proud of who I am. I mentioned to you when I spoke to you guys before that, I had a coaching program that made me second guess like speaking Spanish or, dealing with bilingual clients because they tend, those, let's be honest, those transactions are more difficult most times because they just don't have the same parents or education here in the US that we were lucky to have. And I just kind of want to like really push that message forward to be proud of who you are and help other people. We have been blessed to have this awesome job of housing and real estate, which is a necessity. And not to be corny, but I just don't want that message to be lost that that's what we're supposed to be doing, almost like a doctor in a weird way. So do it and reach your hand out to other people that really need the help and help them and be sincere about it. It's not always about the money. The money will come, kind of like making a donation at church, right? The money will come. And so I really think that's an important message right now that is being missed. And I'm trying to do a better job in doing Spanish videos because I sound like a blanquita and a gringa when I talk Spanish. I'm always like, I think I said that word wrong. Or how do you say that word again? And so, but just do it. Just do it.
Love
So
it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. We will have this video posted on the YouTube channel. We will share this with the rest of the NAHREP community. And you shared so much great stuff with us. So thank you again so much for being here.
thank you for having me. It was great seeing you guys, and I'm grateful for everybody that came on and supported today.
Awesome.
Bye, guys.
Love it.
Bye.
See you there.